Welcome to the Explainer. So let's get right into it. There's this question that's probably on your mind, right? If the economy is supposedly so strong, why does it feel like so many of us are falling behind? Well, today we're going to give you a spotter's guide to the real economy, the one that's hiding just behind the headlines.
You see it all over the news, right? The headlines are screaming about low unemployment, a growing GDP, but then you look at your own bank account, and it just doesn't add up. There's this massive disconnect between the official numbers and what people are actually experiencing. So what's really going on here? Well, it turns out the recession everyone's been telling you to watch out for, it might already be here, just hiding in plain sight.
Okay, so to really get what might be happening right now, we've got to look at how these things even get announced in the first place. And here's the spoiler. Official recession declarations, they're always late to the party. They basically tell you what you've already lived through.
I mean, just look at this lag time. It's kind of wild. Take the Great Recession, right? It officially began in December of 2007, but the NBER, that's the National Bureau of Economic Research, the folks who make the official call, they didn't say a word for a full year, a whole year. And it was the same story with the dot-com bust, an 8-month delay. See, the NBER needs months and months of data to confirm everything, which means you could be living deep inside a recession right now, and no one in charge has even said so.
So, that brings us to one of the biggest headlines you see today, the supposedly strong jobs market. And believe me, this is where that gap between the official story and reality gets really wide.
You see this number everywhere, 4.4% unemployment. On the surface, that looks pretty good, right? It's the kind of number that suggests a healthy, robust economy. But that one single number, it hides a much more complicated story.
Okay, so here's the catch. That official rate, it only counts people who've actively looked for a job in the last 4 weeks. So what about everyone else? Well, since the pandemic, a whopping 1.6 million Americans have just stopped looking for work entirely. They're not counted as unemployed. They've basically just vanished from the official statistics.
And this gets even crazier when you look at job quality. Just think about this scenario. A full-time worker gets laid off. To make ends meet, they have to go out and get 2 part-time jobs. Now, in the government's official math, that's a net gain of 1 job. But for that person, their financial situation just took a massive hit. It's a perfect example of how the numbers can lie.
And look, this isn't just some small, isolated issue. We're talking about 4.4 million Americans who are stuck in part-time roles simply because they can't find full-time work. Yeah, they're technically employed, but financially, they are under immense pressure. A lot of times they don't have the benefits or the security that comes with a real full-time position.
All right, so the job market is shaky. Now let's look at another supposed sign of a healthy economy, all this strong consumer spending. Because once you start digging into how people are spending, a very different story starts to emerge.
You know, this quote really just nails it. Americans aren't just swiping for convenience anymore. They're borrowing to cover the basics, holding their lifestyle together with a plastic poison. It gets right to the heart of the matter. This strong spending isn't coming from bigger paychecks. It's coming from borrowing. People are literally using credit cards to pay for essentials, which is creating this temporary illusion of prosperity that's really just building into a much bigger problem.
And the scale of this problem is just staggering. We're talking about total credit card debt hitting a record $1.28 trillion. Let that sink in. This isn't people spending more because they're flush with cash. It's people spending more because they're borrowing more.
And here's the real kicker. The average interest rate on that mountain of debt, it's a jaw-dropping 22%. That makes it incredibly, almost impossibly to pay down. It just traps households in this vicious, never-ending cycle of debt.
And what's happening at the exact same time? Our financial safety net is just disappearing. The personal savings rate, which has historically been around 8%, has plummeted to just 4.5%. So let's connect the dots. We're borrowing more and we're saving less. That is a classic pre-recession signal that households are being stretched dangerously thin.
So why? Why is there this huge gap? Why do the official numbers look so rosy when the reality for so many people feels anything but? Well, there's actually a really powerful concept that explains this perfectly. It's called Goodhart's Law, and the idea is actually pretty simple, but it's profound. When a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. The moment you make a metric, like, say, the unemployment rate, a political target, it stops accurately reflecting the reality it was supposed to measure in the first place.
So here's how it actually works. First, a number, like that unemployment rate, becomes the target. Then the whole system naturally shifts to just making that number look better, not necessarily improving the underlying reality. The goal becomes get the headline unemployment number down, not make sure people have good, secure jobs. And eventually what happens? The metric improves, but the real-world situation doesn't. We end up managing the numbers, not the actual economy.
You know, all of these things, the falling job quality, the skyrocketing debt, the vanishing savings, they aren't just separate, isolated issues. It's like getting in your car and the check engine light, the oil pressure warning, and the brake light all come on at once. Together, they are painting a picture of an economy that's in some serious trouble.
Okay, so now that we've kind of pulled back the curtain, let's put it all together. Let's give you your official Recession Spotter's Guide so you can see the real economy for yourself. Really, it all boils down to just asking the right questions. So when you hear the news celebrating job growth, you should ask, but what about job quality? Are these full-time jobs with benefits? When they brag about wage growth, you check it against the real rate of inflation to see if your money actually buys more. And when they tell you consumer spending is strong, you go look at the credit card and savings data to see where that money is really coming from.
The real economy, it always leaves clues. And the pattern we're seeing right now, a deteriorating job market, people relying on credit, who will be completely blinded